Let's talk to
Uh-oh.
David. Pronouns he, him.
Oh.
Calling in from cavernous asshole. Who said, and this is what it says on the call screen: slavery in the Bible is acceptable in context. David, you're on the line with Forrest and Aaron. How you doing today?
Hi. We actually discussed this before. Remember, you were saying how that God allows or wants slavery. Or, in the Old Testament.
I don't remember because I talk to a dozen people a week. David, I'm just going to start with this, and then I'll move, because I know I was talking a lot the last call. I just really quickly, just jumping ahead of all of it. Please give me the exact context under which slavery is acceptable.
Well, what I wanted to say was that I'm not saying God allowed it, Jesus did not. You said that Jesus, in other words, say that slavery as an institution was wrong. I believe.
I'm just going to repeat the question. Please give me the exact context under which slavery is acceptable.
Okay. Slavery is wrong. Okay, but God said to do it as to the enemies of Israel, and I think it was in Exodus 20. You can look that up. I don't have the reference here, to punish people, but it isn't right, because you don't believe slavery is right?
Yeah, I'm a good person, so no, of course I don't. But what you put here is slavery in the Bible is acceptable in context. That's what I've got on the notes here. So I'm going to ask it then for third time. What is the context that makes slavery acceptable?
Okay, but can I ask, why do you feel that slavery is wrong or evil?
Nope. I'm going to ask you the same question again. What is the context that makes slavery acceptable?
Okay, in the Bible, in the New Testament, it's talking about being slaves to either sin or to God. But you're saying, there's been slavery obviously throughout human history, and it shows. It's because of man's inhumanity to man.
Then
I'm going to ask you again.
God
what is the context?
Why is it in the Old? Yeah.
I'm going to ask you again because we still haven't gotten an answer. Aaron, I'm sorry. I just really want to make sure we get this out here.
Go for it.
What is the context that makes slavery acceptable, David?
Okay. In the Old Testament, again, slavery was used. God wanted the people freed from slaves, like he sent Moses to free the slaves from Israel. And obviously slavery, and Jesus did not come to correct the political institutions, is why he didn't say it in the New Testament.
Yes, he did, but that's not the point. The point is that you say, I'm about to vomit because of how stupid and disgusting this call is. I asked you, what is the context in which slavery is acceptable? You have yet to answer it. This is probably my eighth time asking you in a row now. Until you answer that question,
it is not acceptable. Okay, it is not acceptable according to the Bible.
Period. It is not acceptable. So you put here, slavery is acceptable in context, though. That's what I have written. Did you write that? Is that what you said?
No, your call screener misinterpreted what I said. It was
okay. So then we agree. Do we agree then, David, that slavery is wrong all the time, and all the time slavery is wrong?
Okay. Now, why,
that was a yes or no question.
Yes, we agree.
Okay. Do we agree that there is absolutely, positively no circumstance at all, ever, under any possibilities, zero, absolute goose egg, no way in which slavery is acceptable?
Okay, slavery goes on. Now
that was a yes or no question.
Okay, but slavery goes on whether you accept it or not. So
that was a yes or no question, David. That was a yes or no question.
Okay, I'm going to caveat that. Like I say,
you're going to answer it yes or no.
Can I caveat that by saying if
there shouldn't be a need to? There shouldn't be a need to. There shouldn't be a need to.
Okay, if God says to do something, that overrides what anything what human beings, what he says is correct.
So,
well, you talked about.
So then your answer is no. So then your answer is no. When my question was, is there any circumstance whatsoever in which slavery is acceptable? Your answer is yes, there is actually a circumstance that it makes it okay. And that circumstance is
99.99% of the time.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's not a yes or no answer.
Because
it's not a yes or no.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
it is. And you answered it. The answer is, as long as God says slavery is okay, then slavery is okay. So the answer to my question, is it ever okay for slavery to happen ever? Is there any circumstance? Your answer is yes. Yes, there is. And it's when God says to do it.
Exactly. Okay, I'll agree with that. But 99% of the time, when human beings do it, it's wrong.
So now, Aaron, please.
I got to connect this to our previous conversation where the person was complaining of us having a relativistic or subjective morality. But here, literally, it's wrong if humans do it unless God says so. That is the worst form of relativism. It's bad unless I say so.
Okay, you know that I think that's a philosophy you thorough. I think you've talked about it before. Plato says, "If God says something's right, it's right. Whether human beings say it's right or wrong."
Right. That's called divine command theory, and it is thoroughly fucking disgusting. It is a major point of the Bible, but it's gross as all shit, David. Weird that it took us 6 whole minutes to get there.
I agree with that. What you said doesn't seem. But most 99.99% of the times, God says slavery is wrong.
No, he doesn't.
No,
but
he
that's
never
not the
says
point.
once slavery is wrong.
Yeah.
Not a single time.
Not during what?
God never says one time ever slavery is wrong. God actually regulates slavery. He enforces slavery. He makes sure that some people get extra bad treatment as slaves. Jewish slaves enslaving each other get slightly better treatment, and even there are caveats and exceptions where temporary enslavement can become permanent. I can give you an example from Exodus 21 if you prefer.
Okay, that's in the Old Testament. Okay,
so that's not saying your slavery is good.
Do you know what the Sermon on the Mount? Do you know what the Sermon on the Mount is?
Do you know?
Yes, I do. Do you know? Sorry,
okay.
That's not going to work, Dave.
It says to not hate your brother. Don't lust in your heart. Yeah.
Do you believe in Trinitarianism? Do you believe that it's the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost are one entity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what Jesus was saying on the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus is fundamentally the same God that also commanded slavery. And also, Jesus said that I come not to change the law, but to enforce it. And also, Jesus said, not a jot or tittle of the old laws shall change until the heaven and earth come to our pass, or whatever the fuck. And also, Moses, I believe, talked about, during getting the 10 Commandments, that none of the laws shall ever change. We actually just talked about this on AXP with Justin from Deconstruction Zone, who went over exactly this thing. The Old Testament is not done away with because the New Testament came about. The New Testament fulfills the Old Testament, validates the Old Testament, and if you're a Trinitarian, you believe it was the same God the whole time. That's why God says in the Bible, I am always the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am eternal. I am unchanging. Despite the fact that he regularly changes his mind, doesn't really matter. You can't get away from the fact that God commands slavery and never, ever, ever says don't do it.
Okay. I brought this up before. What do you think about, Moses, God sending Moses to free the slaves under Pharaoh? I don't know, who was it? Amenhotep, you probably know who it was.
Did he have,
that's the reason.
Right. Does freeing some slaves make it okay for him to then command other people to take slaves?
So when you say you're talking about the
that was a yes or no question.
In Israel,
that was a yes or no question.
he was directing Israel, you're saying, to take slaves of the Canaanites, I think it was. I think I'm not disagreeing with what you say. I don't know the reference.
That was a yes or no question. Does God freeing some people from slavery make it acceptable that he puts other people into slavery?
Okay. Can I explain? When you're talking about God as a concept,
No, you can answer yes or no.
Okay, God's ways, I know you've heard this before, are not our ways. We do not. In
So
other words,
slavery is good
about
because
like
God said so.
And we're right back here. Slavery is good when God does it.
in a way, you could say that.
Yeah, that's fucking disgusting.
You said
David.
it.
Here we are again.
And I don't know why Jesus had to come and end slavery under your theology. If you're saying when God says slavery is okay, it's okay. Is it okay or not? Or is God punching himself in the face?
Right, exactly. Just doesn't make any sense.
Okay, you're talking about God as if he has the same, like I said, equality, of brains as human beings. We don't know the reason. I mean, that's why people, have problems with certain passages in the Bible. They don't make sense.
See, this is the fundamental difference between you and us, David. That is the fundamental difference, is that when someone asks Aaron, myself, or any other decent person, is slavery good? We would say, fuck no. What kind of disgusting question is that? Why do you even have to ask? When someone asks you if slavery is good, you say, sometimes. And that's fucking gross. And I hope that tears you up. I genuinely hope that you have to wrestle with that and struggle going to sleep tonight, knowing that at the end of the day, no matter how you fucking slice it, you think that slavery is a good thing in certain conditions.
Okay, have people enslaved other people before in the history of mankind?
Absolutely.
They've also murdered each other. Does that make murder okay? Is murder okay because people have murdered each other in the past?
No. I just said so. They have.
No, David. Sorry, this is the shit logic you have. So we're going to throw the shit right back at you. Because people enslaved each other, does it make slavery okay? Does it mean God should allow it? In the same way, if God can command do not murder, even though people have murdered in the past and continue to do so, God could have done the same thing with slavery, but instead
tens of
decided to say,
of people,
no, you can enslave, and here's how to do it.
Thousands or hundreds, maybe even millions of people throughout history have enslaved other people, right? No matter where.
And people have murdered each other.
And plenty of people have murdered each other too, yes.
Okay, so the people that did the enslaving, why did they do it? What was their purpose?
Because
power, money.
Because they were, yeah, exactly. It's socioeconomic status and power, the same as most social institutions.
Okay, now it's the superior ones, controlling or through whatever, through using their exertion over the other. It's the superior, their way with the inferior, right? The people.
That's literally what we just said.
Okay.
And so David, isn't that what evolution is all about? Are you saying might makes right?
Isn't that what evolution is all about?
No. You illiterate fuck. No, it is not.
I think I'm right. Because you're saying the superior, from Neanderthals, from Cro-Magnon, we are superior to them. So we have.
Nope.
That's why.
That's not at all what I or any other thinking person are saying. You made that shit up because you've never actually studied it. You just memorize bullshit creationist straw men that make sense to you so that you can justify the atrocities of your religion. Learn to fucking actually read what people say about these things instead of just deciding what you think we believe.
And I have to note, if you were going to go by saying some people are superior to others and therefore they deserve to enslave others, congratulations, you've now actually said slavery is a good thing and a natural and moral thing. It's not that it's wrong 99% of the time. It is actually the natural order of things. So really, David, go fuck yourself. You lying
fucking
scum.
Gross, dude.
That is what people who are humanists follow. That's how they've been throughout history.
Not
They've
even a
taken over
little
countries.
bit.
The exact opposite. The exact opposite.
You're confusing the thoroughly debunked pseudoscience called social Darwinism with actual evolutionary biology. It's a loser move.
That's what it is. So you're saying Darwin was wrong or was incorrect about something?
I'm going to repeat what I just said.
Evolution.
Yes, I'm going to repeat what I just said and see if maybe it can get through your skull this time. You're confusing the thoroughly debunked pseudoscience of social Darwinism with actual evolutionary biology. Social Darwinism is when idiots would misunderstand evolution the exact same way that you are right now and use it to justify racism, genocide, eugenics, all manner of atrocities. They were fucking stupid and wrong. And they didn't understand real science, mainly because they didn't have the data. But then even when they got the data, they were still stupid and wrong. It is thoroughly debunked pseudoscience that has nothing to do with actual evolution. You listened to some bullshit Christian podcast that talked about how evolution leads people to do evil things, thought that you got a college education, and then came on this show defending fucking slavery. And now you're trying to shame us for accepting real science because it sounds bad in your empty head. And meanwhile, ignoring the fact that you literally have just said several times that slavery is a good thing, as long as it's in your God's commands.
Do you think that people that don't have God or a deity can have morals on their own?
You're speaking to two
right now.
Two people are speaking to you at this moment that do not have a God, do not have a deity, and that are more moral than you. Because we don't condone slavery.
Where do human beings get their morals from if it isn't from, if it isn't from evolution?
No, it is from evolution. But even if I didn't have an answer for you, it wouldn't fucking matter. Because there is absolutely no justification for the shit that you have advocated for on these calls. Even if I didn't know where my morality came from, I fucking do. And it is evolution. Even if I didn't have that, it would still not give me a reason to believe that anything you are saying is worth a damn.
Okay, when you
it's a cheap, lazy, cowardly dodge to get around the fact that you are justifying enslaving people because it suits your fucking comfort.
It isn't justifying slavery. I just told you that.
You just said slavery was okay when God said so.
Is. You just said that slavery is a good thing if God says so.
I'm saying that there are portions in the Bible that God says to do it. And then other than that, he wants people free.
David, unlike you, we actually pay attention. And we remember that just a few minutes ago, you literally explained to us that slavery is good if God says that it's good. We even said that back to you, and you corrected and said, yes, that is correct. I am saying that might makes right. Slavery is good as long as God says that it is. We even said it back again and said, we say slavery is never wrong ever under any circumstances. And you're saying that it is okay sometimes. And you said, yep, that's true. We were all awake and paying attention to all of those things that you said. And we're on fucking YouTube. Okay. This is all being recorded. People can rewind it back and listen to you saying that shit. So just so we're all clear, you are saying that slavery is good sometimes, and now you're trying to tell us that because of your stupid misunderstanding of science, we somehow can't justify our morality. It's fucking dumb. It's a cowardly, cheap, stupid, shameful, pathetic tactic that you should be embarrassed about, and I don't know if you're smart enough to be embarrassed about it, and that makes me sad.
Okay, let's just say that I don't agree with what you said that I said, but that's where does humanity, okay, just in general, where do they get their basic morals from saying, even if evolution is true, going back millions of years, I don't see that. I don't see how that evolves. Where do you get the scruples from?
I can happily explain to you. I can happily explain to you inclusive fitness and group selection and how morals come up and how proto-morality is observed in other animal species and how social species rely on social systems that are based in what we would understand as morality. I can happily explain all these things to you. It doesn't fucking matter, David, because at the end of the day, we are still using whatever system we have to arrive at the conclusion that slavery is always wrong, and you're not. You're using the system you have to arrive at the conclusion that if you're big and powerful enough, slavery's okay.
Okay, you know that the chief abolitionists, as successfully in this country, were Christians. That's where they get their morality from.
And the people who opposed them were also Christians.
Yep.
I know that there's arguments on your side, but that's not what's that? You know, they made a movie about that. I can't think of his name. You know, but anyway, no, that's not true. It's basically the churches that wanted to have the slaves free. The people in the church.
Wait a minute. Wait, let's just think about this a little bit historically. When did the abolitionist movement start?
I guess, you know, before the Civil War, right? Around 1800s.
Roughly the 19th century, we can say. Okay, so Christianity was okay with slavery for about 1800 years, but the church was against slavery.
Let's just deal in America, I say.
Sure, let's deal with America.
You said the church.
Let's deal with America. No, you're right. No, please. Let's deal with America, where we have the actual Declaration of Secession, the actual Declaration of Secession from Texas, and we can search the word Christian, and here we get this paragraph. This is the Declaration of Secession from Texas, joining the Confederacy. That in free government, all white men are of right outright to be entitled to equal civil rights and political rights, that the servitude of the African race as existing in these states is mutually beneficial to both bond and free, and is abundantly authorized and justified by the experience of mankind and the revealed will of the Almighty Creator as recognized by all Christian nations. So here we have the Declaration of Secession from Texas, joining the Confederacy, saying that we are doing this so that we can keep slaves because the Christian God says so, and all Christian nations will recognize our right to own slaves because it's better for the slaves and better for the masters. That is what they wrote here. So you're going to tell me that the Christians were the ones doing the abolition? The Christians were the one running the government that kept the fucking slaves.
Well, obviously those were misled individuals.
Yes,
I have to look.
They were the wrong kind of Christians because they didn't agree with your Christianity, which is that slavery was only okay sometimes. They said it's okay all the time. You think it's okay just sometimes, and that makes them bad Christians. Fuck you, David. It is absurd to me that you can seriously say this with a straight face and not puke in your own fucking mouth.
Well, like I said, I repeat, the only time that slavery is endorsed, or just when God commands it, and since he's the author of life, of human beings, he has a right to tell people what to do and what not to do.
And the secessionists were right in interpreting the Bible according to you, David. They weren't the wrong kind of Christians. They were the correct ones. It's the evil Northerners that got rid of slavery that don't actually understand their Bible according to you.
True, because at that time, people were talking about the curse of Ham in the Bible and how God very clearly had cursed all black-skinned people to be slaves. So they read the exact same book that you're reading and came to the exact same conclusion that you came to. They just took it one step further. You say slavery's right as long as God says it's right. They agree with you, and they think God said it was right at the same time. And guess what? There are still people alive today that believe the same thing. The KKK is a Christian organization, David, and they're still around. You are in line with them in your beliefs.
Well, if you want to go there, actually, the KKK is an offshoot of the Democratic Party. You can look that up.
And who do they vote for today? Do they vote for Democrats today?
I'm not. I don't think so. No.
You think they voted for Obama?
Who did David Duke endorse in the election? The KKK member. Who did he publicly endorse?
Come on, and who was the first Republican president?
It doesn't matter. We're talking about today, David.
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Does the KKK,
Abraham Lincoln.
Who does the KKK vote for today, David?
Today they did.
Is it Democrats?
For Republicans. No,
they vote for Republicans. You know why? Because there was a party switch, which anybody who has a basic understanding of American history would know about. There was a big party switch where the ideals of the parties swapped. That's why if you go back to like the 50s and 60s and everything, the Republicans were absolutely the ones who were like pushing in this different direction. And the Democrats were super aggressive. That's why if you go back, you find the Democrats were the Confederates and the Republicans were the ones who were trying to free things. And then we swapped.
Yeah.
And now the KKK votes for the Republicans. The Nazis vote for the Republicans. You vote for the Republicans.
Yeah, because I'm a conservative, not for those reasons.
Right. So a minute ago, just to be clear, when I said that the people who owned slaves believed the exact same thing you did, that you do right now, that God endorsed slavery, they just took it to mean he meant it right now too. And then I also mentioned that there are still people who believe that. The KKK is a Christian organization. And you said, well, I mean, they used to be Democrats. You're glossing over the fact that you fucking vote along with the KKK, David. You believe the same thing they believe, and you vote the same way they vote. How does that make you feel, David?
They were Christians back in the 1830s or the 1960s, 1940s that voted. You can't. The Democrats have lost their way. They've been.
We're not talking about the Democrats. We're talking about the fucks who think slavery is okay, and the fact that you apologize for their evil.
Yeah, I apologize for it. I'm saying I want to get back to what the Bible says.
He said it himself.
Okay?
He's an apologist for slavery. Why are we still talking to this guy? He is literally a slavery apologist. He said it himself.
I'm kind of done with it. If God says it's in the Bible,
David, we know what you're saying. The one brain cell rattling around in your head has been saying the same thing for 27 minutes, and we keep fucking telling you it's shameful. And if you could actually try, I know it's a fucking crazy idea, but I'm just telling you, if you actually tried thinking, it would change your fucking life, and it might make you less of a reprehensible piece of shit. But as of right now, you are admitting proudly to align yourself with the KKK and to say that slavery is good sometimes. Fuck all the way off, David. I'm done with this call. I hope sincerely, and I mean this, that you go back to eating your own excrement as soon as possible. Fuck you. We've got a few calls left.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jimmy Snow, executive producer of The Line, and the rumors are true. Forrest Valkai is, in fact, a hostage in my basement. If you would like to contribute to his freedom one day, you can do so by supporting us over on Patreon or becoming a channel member. There are specific tiers for specific shows or the channel at large. You can also send us super thanks. Those are great. You can like, comment, and subscribe. Also, fudge the algorithm. Go to one of these things. The algorithm doesn't matter. It thinks it knows you better than we do, better than you do. I know you better, Hank. There's a bunch of people named Hank. I just freaked way out. Okay, go to one of these.